Hello, my fellow freaks and creeps. So today we are back and we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, Slender Man. Because I don't actually even know why it became, I think I was just with the right people, the right freaky people growing up, and it became kind of a huge thing in my circle of friends. We watched all the Marble Hornet videos, which 10 out of 10 would recommend. I think they're finishing it or they just finished it. I don't actually remember because I never finished it. I actually kind of stopped watching it because there were like a million freaking videos, and then it stopped being about Slender Man so much and more about the proxies, and then it stopped being about the proxies, and then it was more about, I don't even know. It got really weird, and then I just kind of was like, okay, well, there's like no more Slender Man in this essentially, so I'm gonna stop watching it. So I did. But anyway, so first I'm going to read a bit about Slender Man for those of you who don't know, which get out from under the rock you live under. So I'm going to kind of go over the origin, the history, those mean the same thing, whatever. And then read a story that I really liked that I read, that is also on Creepypasta, which I will link down below. But as Phil DeFranco says, let's just jump right into it. Did I do that last time too? For some reason, I watch him all the time, every day. And so now whenever I start something, that's how I want to start it. Is let's just jump right into it. Anyway, the Slender Man. The Slender Man is an alleged paranormal figure purported. Oh gosh, I'm not the best at reading, okay? I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know how to say that word. I'm just gonna skip it because that's what adults do. Believers in the Slender Man tie his appearances in with many other legends around the world, including Fear Dub, or the Dark Man in Scotland. So I said that completely wrong because it's in Scottish. The Duckish Takenman, Branch Man, and the German legend of Dirk. I'm not even going to try to say that because that's just legit in German, and that's not happening. Or the Tall Man. Thank you for the English. So he's known all over the world, supposedly, because that's how the internet works. The Slender Man is a being, male in appearance, who looks like a man with extremely long, slender arms and legs. He also appears to have 4 to 8 long black tentacles that protrude from his back, though different photographs and enthusiasts disagree on this fact. And therefore it is theorized that he can contract these tentacles at will. Which, yes, I have also, the most I've ever seen of Slender Man, he didn't have those tentacles. Like when he got super popular, I knew that that was a thing, but I feel like back when I was super into it, he didn't really have that. I think that's kind of grown with his entire legend. He is described as wearing a black suit, strikingly similar to the visage of the notorious Men in Black, and as the name suggests, appears very thin, is able to stretch his limbs and torso into inhuman lengths in order to induce fear and ensnare his prey. Once his arms are outstretched, his victims are put into something of a hypnotized state where they're utterly helpless to stop themselves from walking into his arms. He is also able to create tendrils from his fingers and back that he uses to walk on similar fashion to Dr. Octopus. The superhuman stretching ability could also be seen as a similarity between himself and Mr. Fantastic. Which, yeah. He's stretchy. 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 He's stretc or Incredible, what's her name? The Incredibles? Elastigirl. She's stretchy. Whether he absorbs, kills, or merely takes his victims to an undisclosed location or dimension is also unknown, and there are never any bodies or evidence left behind in his wake to deduce a definite conclusion. Yes, so I actually did an entire report on Slender Man when I was in high school because I was in a class that allowed me to do so. That was a fun class. Anyway, something that I remember researching that I haven't seen yet, I haven't read yet, is that it was mostly kids. One of the, I don't know, because he came from creepypasta. That's that. Other legends that have things like him that I'm going to go into a bit later about. One of them, I believe it was Japanese. I want to say, I might be wrong, don't quote me. He would just kidnap kids. Kids were his big thing for some reason. So he would kidnap kids, and yes, they would be transfixed with him. Like, they would see him and they would think that he was their friends, because they'd be like it says, they'd be like kind of hypnotized. And I mostly read that he would take them into a different dimension, not a place like on Earth right now, just like straight up a different dimension. And I believe that more than him transporting them to like the Bahamas or something. So that's my personal, I think he takes them to a different dimension. His face is pale and slightly ghostly and almost appears to have been wrapped in a style of gauze or cloth. His facial features are also an object of debate, and many people believe that his face looks different to each person if it is seen at all. Again, yes, so the thing about urban legends and the thing about things that are not real that we know of anyway, because this did all start on creepypasta, for, I believe it was a photo contest, and it's pretty legit. Again, I knew Slendy as having no face, so it was just white, blank face. It didn't look like there was anything wrapped around it. It didn't look like anything like that. My friend Evan dressed up as Slender Man, and he just put pantyhose over his face, and that creeped me out quite a bit because I wasn't aware that he was dressing up as Slender Man and then peeking around the corner of the hallway to me, so that alarmed me greatly. But yeah, so I never thought it was wrapped in something, because to me that kind of takes the creepy out of it for me personally, because if his face is just wrapped up, then that implies that there's an actual face under the gauze or something, and that just immediately makes him more human and less scary to me. People don't scare me the way that paranormal things do, so a being, even with all the stretchiness and all the random other stuff he can do, a being with no face is way scarier to me than somebody that has gauze around their face, you know? Either way, if I saw either of those things in the real world, I'd freak the fuck out, but you know what I mean. He sometimes is portrayed wearing a hat. I have literally never heard that. He may also be seen wearing a long flowing necktie or scarf, which is either red or gray. Also, literally have never heard of that or seen that. I've never seen him with a hat. I've never seen him with a scarf. He does have a tie on with his suit, but I personally have... See, and that's just another way to make him more humanoid, and I feel like that just makes him less creepy, so I don't like it. But anyway, that is... If the internet says so, then it's probably true. He often keeps his long, pale hands crossed politely behind his back or hanging loosely at his sides. His suit is black, sometimes portrayed as pinstripe in artwork, a common misconception thanks to a very similar Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. He has long coattails, which he lets flow proudly. He wears long dress shoes, which are always shine in perfect, gleaming black. So, essentially, what all of that said is that anybody can make him look like anything they want and then just be like, yeah, this is Slender Man. As long as he's wearing a suit. And his face is either not there or wrapped in something. There's Slendy. Okay, so we are on to Slender Man's behavior. Much of the fascination with Slender Man is rooted in the overall aura of mystery that he is wrapped in. Despite the fact that it's rumored he kills children almost exclusively, it is difficult to say whether or not his only objective is slaughter. I also don't think he kills kids. I believe he kidnaps them and takes them to a different dimension, and then I don't know what after that. Maybe he does kill them. I don't know, but it's weird. I don't picture him as like a murderer. And I think that's how he's mostly portrayed as, so I don't know why I have that thought in my brain, but I don't see him as a murderer. I think he's a kidnapper, and then he takes them to a different dimension, and then I don't know, because I also can't see him letting them grow up. Maybe the dimension he takes them in to, they stay kids forever, and then he just has a bunch of kids. I don't know. Personally, to me, that sounds like a lot of work, but I have no idea. Or they just disappear. Simply, they don't go to a different dimension. They walk into his arms and they're just gone from everything. Who knows? Oftentimes it is either reported or recorded that he can be found in sections of woods, and these generally tend to be suburban. He also has been reported seen with large groups of children, as many photographs portray. It is commonly thought that he resides in woods and forests and preys on children. He seems unconcerned with being exposed in the daylight or captured in photos. Yes, so that's another creepy thing about Slendy, is he just does not care. He's like, yeah, I'm here. What's up? But he's creepy enough that he'll be like just halfway behind that tree, you know? He's a creeper, you know? Like, but he'll also just like stand there and be like, hey, you know? It is often thought as well that he enjoys stalking people. Yes, huge thing. People who become overly paranoid about his existence, purposefully giving them glimpses of himself in order to further frighten them. For this reason, it seems like Slender Man very much enjoys psychologically torturing his victims. Yes, which is why he's a creep. As much as he's also like, hey, I'm here, he'll be there for a second and then be gone. So you look back and then he's gone because he wants to freak you the heck out, obviously. He also often appears to float or drift around rather than walk, which suggests the possibility of him being an ethereal being. What is that? Or rather than a creature or man. Ethereal? I feel like I should know that word. I'm probably saying it wrong. If I heard it correctly, I'd probably know it. This would also explain why he is able to remain mobile in spite of his poorly proportioned body. So I don't necessarily understand that part, because he has some long ass motherfucking legs. He's like a daddy long leg, you know. He can do stuff. Even though Slender Man was fabricated on something awful. That's right. Was it not creepypasta? Why did I think it was creepypasta? Something awful. Right. So I was wrong, obviously. I thought it was creepypasta because I had creepypasta up and I thought that that was it. I think. So it was something awful forms, and oh, that's because I'm never on something awful. So it was on a form. It was like a photo challenge or something. These are some very interesting form names. It was like a photo challenge, I believe. Now I'm questioning everything because I was wrong about something. But anyway. Some people have claimed sightings. We will also be talking about the 2 girls that tried to murder their friend on his behalf in a little bit here. His main intentions appear to be kidnapping children, as when he is near them in photographs, they usually disappear shortly afterwards. The Slender Man has also inspired many stories, such as those of marble hornets. Yes, go watch those videos if you're into creepy stuff, because they're very well done. From what I remember, that was also many, many years ago. I haven't watched them in a very long time. But they were very well done. 10 out of 10 would recommend. An interesting take on Slender Man by a Pasta member who is relying on the Marble Hornets series for evidence for / facts. So this is probably somebody that is like more like me. Like, I know most of my Slender Man facts and stuff from Marble Hornets. I also did a lot of random research on my own because I'm into it. My couch is like very dipped in the middle, and I'm trying to not sit entirely on my little dog. So I'm just gonna be like sideways. Don't mind me. That's annoying. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to get comfy. Yoda, don't look at me like that, okay? I'm sorry. I'm trying, I promise. Ugh. Okay. So, interesting take on Slender Man. These are in quotes. There has been a big misconception about my pal, the Slender Man, like this guy, due to the appearance of this article. He does not have hair or a face. Thank you. See, this guy's gonna know what's up. Everything else is correct. There is also some questioning as to whether or not there is more than one. I find that unlikely. It is most likely Slendy fucking with your head in order to make you think there is more than one, which he has been known to do. As of now, Slendy has 3 or 4 known accomplices. I love this guy. I don't know who wrote this, but me. It wasn't me, but anyway. The 3 or 4 known accomplices are Hoodie, Masky, the Rake, and possibly the Observer. See, now I'm pretty sure the Observer was an accomplice. I actually didn't hear that the Rake was an accomplice to Slender Man. I thought the Rake was a completely different thing. But I guess I don't know, maybe this guy finished the Marble Hornets videos, so maybe I can't speak much because I didn't finish them. Not much is known yet because the next episode of the Noah Maxwell ARG has not been released. In the Marble Hornets ARG, Hoodie and Masky are possibly his followers. In the Everyman Hybrids ARG, the Rake seems to be working with him, but we aren't really sure if that's true or not. Yeah, see, so I am 90% sure the Rake is a completely different thing, to be honest. I think the Rake is similar to a point, but from what I could tell, like Hoodie and Masky are proxies, I believe, of Slender Man. They are followers. They are, you know, they will do Slendy's bidding, essentially. But honestly, I don't think the Rake is involved in Slendy at all. Historical references, because the internet has facts, and truth and history. The earliest argued reference to the legend is within the cave paintings found in the Sur de Capivara National Park in the northeast of Brazil, which are believed to date from as far back as 9000 BC. These paintings show a strangely elongated character leading a child by the hand, but make no reference to the extra appendages. Stop it, little dog. I don't need you scaring me while I'm looking at scary paintings, okay? That's not what the painting looks like to me at all, but whatever. We're grasping, you know, we're grasping for straws. We're doing all that we can here. Egyptian hieroglyphs. The next known possible reference to the Slender Man comes from around 31,000 BC, 3100 BC, sorry, numbers, in Lower Egypt, with references to the thief of gods or the thief of Kuk becoming commonplace during the reign of the Pharaoh Wasner. Right. Hieroglyphic carvings representing the thief were found in the pharaoh's tomb, who was rumored to have some kind of encounter with the entity. The carvings resemble a strange figure with multiple upper limbs, one that has never been found in any other hieroglyphic language. So I found out last time my camera does stop at 24 minutes and 24 seconds, and we're about reaching there, so I'll make sure to put it back together. I'll turn it on when it stops. German woodcuts. Renowned German woodcutter Hans Frankenberg created the last two woodcuts featuring a character he described as Der Ritter, or the Knight, during the mid-16th century that were discovered in Halsberg Castle in 1883. Whilst Frankenberg was well known for his realistic depiction of human anatomy, something that was unusual among woodcutters of the time, these pictures featured a skeletal, multi-limbed character. Historians are unsure of the exact symbolic nature of the character, with some claiming that as a personification of the religious wars that raged in Europe at the time, while others say it represents the mysterious plagues that have been believed to be the reason for the mysterious abandoning of the Halsberg Castle in the nearby village in 1543. However, many insist that Frankenberg was attempting to represent, I'm not even going to try to say that because German, but in English it means the tall man. According to legend, he was a fairy who lived back in the Black Forest. Bad children who crept into the woods at night would be relentlessly chased by the tall man, who wouldn't leave them be until he either caught them or they were just forced to tell their parents of their wrongdoing. Even then, there is a chilling account from an old journal dating from about 1702. Ooh. My child, my Lars, he is gone. Take him from his bed. The only thing that we found was a scrap of black clothing. It feels like cotton, but it is softer, thicker. Lars came into my bedroom yesterday screaming at the top of his lungs that the angel is outside. I asked him what he was talking about, and he told me some nonsense fairy story about the tall man. He said he went into the groves by our village and found one of my cows dead, hanging from a tree. I thought nothing of it at first, but now he is gone. We must find Lars, and my family must leave before we are killed. I am sorry, my son. I should have listened. May God forgive me. That's sad. It sounds like it potentially could have been a thing that parents made up to try to make their kids be good. You know, that's really common. Like, Elf on the Shelf, you know, Santa is always watching you. Like, you have to be a good child or you get punished, or, you know, so I don't know. What I do know is that generally urban legends and things, they're there for a reason. And I'm not saying that these things, these historical facts, have anything to do with that. I think that there are a lot of similar things, and I think with how long humans have been around, things are sure to come up multiple times. If you know what I mean. But then also generally that would mean that it was real. See, like, my big argument for that would be like ghosts. So ghosts have been talked about forever across the globe. And, you know, obviously at one time, people across the globe couldn't talk to each other, obviously. There wasn't internet, there wasn't cell phones, there wasn't regular phones, there was no mail, there wasn't things like that. And yet there's similar stories from different parts of the world depicting ghosts, essentially. That'll be a whole other video. I love me some ghosts. Zach Bagans, babe. But anyway, I think that the two pictures that are on here really don't look anything like it, so that's why I'm kind of on the fence about that. I think those are grasping for straws just a little bit. But anyway, Romanian mythology. There's also a Romanian fairy tale which tells the legend of the tall man, featuring this description, which may have taken to refer to the Slender Man. The tall man stood in a clearing, dressed as a nobleman, all in black. Shadows lay over him, dark as a cloudy night. He had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, all sharp as swords, and they all writhed like worms on nails. Writhed? Like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. In the fairy tale, the tall man causes a mother to kill her husband and child before he slid from a fireplace and clenched her in his burning embrace. So, that's another thing about Slender Man, obviously. He is not, what's the word? He's telepathic. He makes you see things, you know, that's why the psychological torture he's all about that. Because supposedly he is telepathic. He'll talk to you in your own mind, obviously. And things like that. So he'll just be standing there and be like, yo, what's up, I'ma kill you, or whatever, you know. I don't exactly know what he says because he's never talked to me. English mythology. There is also an English myth referring to the tree man, whom is said to have a slim body with appendages that looks like tree branches. He is only known to be seen in the woods and was used as a story that parents told their children to thwart bad behavior. Told you. There have been quite a few disappearances of children that have been said to be linked to the tree man. Exactly. See, but my issue with that is that those two little stories described something similar but also completely opposite. So in the Romanian mythology, he had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, all sharp as swords, and they writhed like worms on nails. So that's a little different than a slim body with appendages that look like tree branches. Okay, now correct me if I'm wrong, but tree branches are not boneless like snakes. They can be sharp, yeah, but they don't writhe like worms on nails. So, just saying, those are two completely different things. But to be fair, in a lot of the pictures of Slender Man, it looks like both. It looks like in some pictures in some pictures it looks like he has arms that do look like tree branches because he himself looks like a tree. So then naturally you would think they would look like tree branches, especially in pictures when nothing's moving. In most of the pictures that I'm familiar with, he doesn't have those long arms anyway. And a lot of these pictures, he does. So I personally like the version without the many different arms. For some reason, to me, the arms, although they can look creepy most of the time when people do them, because obviously this is not real, they end up looking cartoony. And they kind of just remind me of the wacky wavy inflatable tube man. You know what I'm talking about? But wacky wavy inflatable tube man. Literally though, I think they end up looking cartoony. I think it makes them look a little cheaper. I don't like the arms, but that's just me. I'm very specific about my creatures, okay? So that was most of the origin and, you know, where Slender Man kind of came from. Let us talk about incidents that have happened with Slender Man. So, I should have looked up how to say this. Waukesha, Wisconsin? Waukesha? Wisconsin. Anyway. On May 31st, 2014, so 5 years ago now, two 12-year-old girls in Waukesha, I'm just gonna say Waukesha, I don't think that's right, Wisconsin, held down and stabbed a 12-year-old classmate 19 times. When later questioned by authorities, they reportedly claimed that they wished to commit a murder as a first step of becoming proxies for the Slender Man, having read about it online. They also stated that they were afraid Slender Man would kill their families if they did not commit the murder. After the perpetrators left the scene, the victim crawled out of the woods to a roadway. A passing cyclist alerted authorities, and the victim survived the attack. Both attackers have been diagnosed with mental illnesses, but have also been charged as adults and are each facing up to 65 years in prison. One of the girls reportedly said Slender Man watches her, can read minds, and could teleport, which are all pretty well-known Slender Man qualities. This is where it gets a little weird. So I watched a different podcast about just this case, and it was really sad. Like, the poor girl that got stabbed 19 times, first of all, props. You go, girl. She is going to live probably with fear and paranoia and trust issues for the rest of her life, and I feel really bad for her for that. But what a tough little girl. Stabbed 19 times in a forest and then crawled her way to a roadway. Now, these two girls, first of all, one of them was far, far more mentally ill than the other one. The one that was more mentally ill later said that she had also conversed with Lord Voldemort and one of the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles. So this girl had some issues, obviously. She was found in contempt to stand trial, and her prosecution was suspended until her condition improved. And that only took a few months. That was in August 1st of 2014. November 12th of 2014, a doctor judged that her condition had improved enough for her to stand trial. And on December 19th, 2014, the judge ruled that both girls were competent to stand trial. They were tried as adults. They were tried separately. On August 21st, 2017, one of the girls, now 15, well, now 17, pleaded guilty to being a party to attempted second-degree homicide, but claimed she was not responsible for her actions on grounds of insanity. Although prosecutors alleged that she knew what she was doing was wrong, the jury determined that she was mentally ill during the attack. She will spend at least 3 years in a mental hospital. And let's see, she'll be hospitalized for 25 years from the date of crime, which would keep her institutionalized until age 37. Now, although it's not Slender Man related, it is mental illness related. These 12-year-old girls were tried as adults for trying to kill their classmate because they stabbed her 19 times. Now, I don't think throwing them in jail is the best option, but I do believe that at that age, I believe that the girl that was more mentally unstable convinced the other one to do it, because she was the one that was in communication with Slender Man, and said that he would kill their families if they didn't do it. I think it's really sad that they were in a mindset that they legitimately believed, or so they say, that somebody was going to kill their families. An entity at that was going to kill their families. And they believed that to the point of stabbing a girl 19 times. It was also really interesting because I remember after they stabbed her, they were going to walk to where his supposed house was or something, which was like 500 miles away. So these two girls, 12-year-old girls, just stabbed their friend 19 times, and then they were going to just walk 500 miles. I think maybe they didn't realize how far 500 miles was. And obviously they're fucked in the brains, obviously, but hopefully they got help, you know, hopefully it was an actual mental illness, I guess I want to say, and hopefully it wasn't just that one of them literally is a murderer, because I think only one of them did the actual stabbing. I don't know, you know, it's hard to say. I don't know what would be better. I don't know if it would be better that later we find out that they were actually mentally sane, they just wanted to kill somebody, or if it's better that they're actually very mentally unhealthy. Hopefully they could get help, but I feel like when you're that far gone, sometimes you cannot get help. Anyway, yeah, so props to the girl that survived, though. I give her mad props. That's amazing that she crawled to a road. Okay, other incidents. After hearing the story, an unidentified woman from Cincinnati, Ohio, told TV reporter in June 2014 that her 13-year-old daughter had attacked her with a knife and had written macabre fiction, some involving the Slender Man, who the mother said motivated the attack. On September 4th, 2014, a 14-year-old girl in Port Richey, Florida, allegedly set her family's house on fire while her mother and 9-year-old brother were inside. Police reported that the teenager had been reading online stories about Slender Man, as well as oh my gosh, I don't know how to say that. Atsushi Okubo manga. Oh, okay, Soul Eater manga. It's a story. Eddie Daniels of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office said the girl had visited the website that contains a lot of the Slender Man information and stories. It would be safe to say there is a connection to that. During an early 2015 epidemic of suicide attempts by young people ages 12 to 14 on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, Slender Man was cited as an influence. The Oglala, oh my gosh, I'm butchering all these names, I'm really sorry. Tribe president noted that many Native Americans traditionally believe in a suicide spirit similar to the Slender Man, which is also very interesting to note. I think to a point, people would use that as an excuse. I think these kids, first of all, saw those first 2 kids that did this. They didn't even get away with it though, so I don't know why they would try to copy that story of, oh, I'm just so mentally ill because Slender Man is making me do these things. But I do believe that to a point that's probably what it is just unwell kids blaming stuff on a thing that doesn't exist because it's convenient and it's easier and better than just saying, yeah, I was mad at my mom, so I lit the house on fire and with her and my brother in it. Kid needs fucking help. But I don't think that kid needs help because of Slender Man. I think these kids need help because they're obviously very mentally unstable because of other things. And Slender Man, just like all sorts of internet memes and stories, end up becoming excuses for people. The thing that's going around right now, the Momo challenge, first of all, is not a real thing. The only reason people think it's real is because news articles started acting like it was a real thing after like one person got something and then it blew up. And now everybody thinks that the Momo challenge is real and that Momo's actually trying to kill kids. It's not, okay? Momo is a statue, I believe, is it a statue? Momo. Sculpture. Momo is a sculpture that was sculpted in 2016. I understand the human brain can do some crazy stuff with imagination, but to a point, when it comes to these teenagers and stuff that are doing these things, I think it's really easy for everybody to blame something like this, like an online challenge and stuff like that, but chances are that's completely unrelated. I think it was called the Blue Whale Challenge, that at the end of it you were supposed to kill yourself, and people did. I think though, if kids of this age and older are killing themselves, I don't think it's because a creepy statue that says kill yourself. It actually doesn't even say that, but that's like the text that comes with it, I guess. I think if they receive that and then they kill themselves, I think there's way more going on than just that. Obviously. I don't want to blame parents. Like, you can't really blame one specific thing for that, but mostly pay the fuck attention to what your kids are watching and looking at online, mostly. Okay, these 14 and 15-year-olds that are setting their fucking houses on fire and they blame Slender Man, they're probably just little shits. Like, I don't know if I'm just being super rude right now. I am, but they think that they can get away with it for whatever reason, and they have noticed that people can blame these online stories for making them do it, And then they do that instead of just being like, yeah, I'm just a little shit and I have no impulse control because your prefrontal cortex isn't even done growing until you're like mid-20s for women and then like early 30s for men. That's actual science. That's a real thing. But if they are not taught at a very young age as babies and children impulse control and right from wrong, I know mental illness plays a factor. I know that. I'm not ignorant of that. I understand that. But I think sometimes, just sometimes, it's completely possible that these kids just do these things because they want to, because they're little shits. Like, look at Bad Baby or whatever the F her name is that was on Dr. Phil, and she got famous for being a little shit. Like, she was disrespectful. She was really rude. Her mom was a perfect example of what not to do, essentially. And that's what you get stuck with, is a little shit. But then she got millions off of it. So now all these kids are like, I'm gonna be a little shit and then I'm gonna be famous. Like, I don't know. Weird rant that I went on. Really sorry about that. So I think I'm going to end it there. Because the story that I picked out, well, the story is really short. Just kidding. We're gonna read the story. We gotta end on Slender Man, right? So this is a Slender Man story. See, this is on Creepypasta, called The Blank Face. My thing's gonna stop recording in like 2 minutes. I'm just gonna stop it right now. So, The Blank Face. The following is a witness's re-encounter of their incident with the Slender Man. After waking up with a jolt, the girl had laid in bed for a few seconds longer. Reaching over to switch on her bedside lamp, she tried to remember exactly what had stolen her sweet slumber away. When she couldn't, the brunette swung her legs over the side of the bed and heaved herself up. Checking the time on her phone, she snorted when she saw it was 3 in the morning. The witching hour. Knowing that sleep would only evade her, she left her room for the kitchen, a good cup of coffee on her mind. As she passed by her front door, a chill spread like liquid fire down her spine. It's only winter, she told herself, focusing again on the coffee plan. Measuring out scoops, water, and preparing her cup kept her occupied, but as the dark liquid boiled, she had nothing left to keep on her mind from wandering off. The chill had returned, and she couldn't help but glance behind her to the front door. It stood there innocently enough, just like always. The deadbolt was still in place, and she could see nothing amiss with it. Turning back to her coffee, she did her best to forget about the feeling. With her cup in hand, she started back towards her bedroom. As she walked by the front door, she decided that a quick glance out the peephole would help calm her restless thoughts. The chill worsened with each step. With each step she took towards the door and further away from the safety and warmth of her blankets. She pressed her empty hand against the cold metal door and took a deep breath before leading her eye to the peephole. At first she could only see an inky blackness, and somehow seemed to swirl in itself. When she blinked in surprise, the void melted away. She wished it hadn't. In its place, there stood what she could only guess was once a man. The limbs were long and inhumanly awkward, with bulky joints branching off into several arms, not unlike the branches of a tree. The creature was draped in a black suit, somehow making the thing more nightmarish to her. The icing on the proverbial cake, however, was what passed as the hellish thing's face. It was as though her mind blurred the ghastly visage to spare itself further shock and horror. She shoved herself away from the door, and with the hand still pressed against it. The scalding mug of coffee fell, the liquid burning her bare legs as she fell backwards and tried to crawl away from the door. She knew somehow that her mind hadn't been playing tricks on her. As she crab walked away from the door, she watched his tendrils, as black as the void itself, snaked through the cracks. The girl was trapped between the instinct to flee and the gut feeling to not turn her back on the door. When the door jolted, the urge to flee overcame her, and she slipped in the burning liquid as she tried to make it back to her room. Like, not even in focus, whatever. She knew deep down that she was trapping herself in a corner, but she had to get away from the door. The girl was halfway down the hallway when she heard the previously locked door creak open. She screamed and slipped into a wall, cracking her chin on it and stunning her. After that, there was only blackness. Nicole, a warm male voice snapped the woman off her trance. As she turned around, she was met by one of her sister's doctors. She nodded, not sure if she should say anything, or even if she could find her voice if she did have something to say. That morning, she had gotten an urgent phone call from the hospital, saying that her sister, Lindsay, was there. Before they had even let her see her, the doctors had pulled her off to the side and insisted that they talk to her about what might have happened. Phrases like self-inflicted and assault had been thrown around, and Nicole felt her mind reel. She still hadn't fully understood what they had been saying until she saw Lindsay with her own eyes. Her little sister had a bandage wrapped around her head, covering both of her ears as well as her eyes. They said it was to keep her now deadened eyes from drying out and to try to keep infection out of the wounds Lindsay had made to her ears. The doctors had guessed that either she or someone else had jammed a pencil into them to keep her off balance or to deafen herself against something. There was the mix of first and second degree burns on her hands, legs, and feet from what was assumed to be the coffee of her neighbors found spilled all over the entry to her apartment. As Nicole walked into her sister's hospital room for the first time, she thought she had spied the silhouette of a man in the window. That, she knew, was impossible. Her sister's room was on the 3rd story of the hospital. It was a tall man wearing a black suit with a blank face. Bum, bum, bum. So that was a shorter story. That was pretty good, actually. Not super creepy, but good. So Slendy is rude, obviously. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that is most of Slender Man. Again, I am a huge fan because it became a big deal in my friend group because of the Marble Hornet series. I'm pretty sure we actually thought about making our own Marble Hornet type videos. I think we made a couple. I wonder if they'd probably be on a cell phone from years ago, so that kind of sucks. That'd be funny to watch. But I've always been super into creepy, obviously, and so have all of my friends. So we're a creepy bunch. Slender Man, I will admit, does not scare me anymore. Just, I think my mind has grown out of him a little bit. Onto scarier things as it's matured. I will admit that back in the day, though, I had many nightmares about him. And like I said before, my friend Evan dressed up as him, and they came through, I think it was my garage, and I was sitting on the couch with my mom. And he did the Slender Man thing. So Slender Man does this thing where there's like a wall and he'll like look around it. And my friend Evan did that, and I legitimately jumped over the couch when I saw him because I just freaked the fuck out. I mean, if he were to do that to me now, I'd still probably freak out, but the thought of Slender Man doesn't really scare me as much anymore. I think it's really interesting to think about. I don't like some of the versions that have come out of him, like a hat and a scarf, really? Like, really? But whatever, people will do what people do. So anyway, thank you so much for listening and hanging out with me as we talk about Slendy. I think that's all I have to say. The Slender Man symbol, I didn't really touch on. It was introduced by Marble Hornets, is a circle with an X like going outside of it, so it's not like the no circle, it's like X circle. that's a fun fact. That became really popular. There's like merchandise you can buy with that symbol on it, which, thinking of that, I wonder if there's a beanie out there with that symbol on it, because I would buy that. Maybe I should make that if there isn't one. But my dog is getting up, so I guess it's time for me to wrap this mother up. Oh, I need to brush you. You're a mess. Do you want to say goodbye? Oh, okay. Well, he's gone. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, listening, doing whatever you've been doing as I ramble and rant about Slender Man and his innocence in today's modern world of crazy people. He didn't make anybody do anything. They're just crazy. And the ones that aren't crazy are just mentally ill and need help, like, seriously. Otherwise, they're little shits that just think they can get away with anything. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time, probably tomorrow. We'll see. I love you. Thank you so much for watching. Go watch my daily vlog. I will link that in the description below. I don't know how many people are actually watching this at some point, but if somebody out there is watching this, wants me to talk about something, comment it so I can have ideas, because I have a lot of things to talk about, but then when it comes to actually filming and talking about something, my mind goes blank. So, you wanna come say bye? Yoda. He doesn't. Okay, bye guys.